Hi guys, I'm Kal. We're going to be talking about these holsters. We're going to start off with the cheapest holster. We're going to work our way up to the more expensive, better holsters. This video is sponsored by KTactical. And all right, so over here we have these universal holsters. Now, these guys are about $15 on Amazon. Fabric, very flexible. They hold the firearm with tension due to your belt loop. So this is your classic Uncle Mike. It's got that really super loose, cheap plastic clip there. I can't say enough terrible things about this holster and how ineffective it is. Now, I will say this holster is decently comfortable because of its smooth padding, but all of the little knobs and features of that firearm are gonna rub right into your body. And drawing it can be a little bit precarious because of that super loose clip there. You can bring your firearm right out with you. All right, take note, it's decently concealable and compact to the body, but because this clip actually sits low on the holster, it holds the firearm pretty high on my body, meaning when I lean over or turn, it sticks out a decent amount. It does add to accessibility when I go to the holster, but as you can see, this gun sock is quite precarious, if you will. Yeah, everything's grabbing onto it. It does not protect the trigger well at all. It's completely open, which is definitely a hazard. I think it draws decently well. It comes out of the holster okay, but it's just way too much of a liability. It doesn't protect the trigger well very well. This is the Uncle Mike for about $15. I couldn't imagine using that as my everyday carry. So we're moving on to the other $15 holster. Now this is going to be made out of a better material. It's got that kind of nylon canvas there. It's definitely a lot of the same features though, super floppy. It's got a little bit thicker padding and it has a much stronger clip, that metal clip, also backed by leather. So I'm a little bit happier with this product. Let's see, at least the build quality. Let's go ahead and test the functionality of it. So as you can see, it sits a lot deeper inside the holster and covers up that trigger guard much better. No, it's the Marine Corps. It's Marine Corps gray belt McMap. Hoorah! Because I was a gray belt. So it sits much deeper in the holster, but I will say it's much less predictable in where it actually ends up riding. It still has pretty poor retention. If you're moving around at all, trying to do stuff, you're definitely going to be very worried about what your firearm's going to do. As far as the draw goes, give it a test. It comes out pretty decent. Goes in pretty terrible. It's a little sloppy, but the not too much friction on the walls there. Definitely pulls out pretty good. And the clip seems to be working all right. But again, not my favorite system. Let's move on to this one. So this is a much better design of a holster here. This leather obviously has this very large fin here. The clip is very low on the holster again. It has this double sewn leather here, which adds more rigidity to the opening for reholstering. But I will say, even as a design quality that some people might desire that, it is much less comfortable because this right here is actually relatively abrasive. This nylon thread here that's sewn through here is, they melted off the edge right there against you, and so you get a nice piece of hard plastic rubbing against your skin for several hours. So I'm gonna go ahead and try that on and see how that works. So the first thing I noticed while trying to put this thing on is how cumbersome this clip is. It moves in the holster, and it also, you have to get it over, there's a lip there. You have to get your belt over that lip, and while it's moving, it's kind of a pain in the ass. So okay, there we go, got it. Clear. All right. First thing I noticed is that extra piece of leather doesn't really hold it open. So I cannot get the firearm in there unless I do something. So this is always a fairly unsafe situation where you're digging your fingers in here, potentially pointing them at your finger. But so we have some room here so I can pull this open and slide it in from behind without pointing it at my fingers. But now that we're here, getting it into the holster. Okay, yep. Okay, not trying to chamber around here. All right, it's in. Oh, got some shirt. Okay. A little shirt in the back. All right, there we go. So now we have our firearm in our holster, ready to go. Concealment, decent. Pull it up. All right, so it sits pretty high. Not a huge fan of how high it is. It definitely makes it a little cumbersome. Let's see what the draw's like. Well, it was hard to get to, even though it sits pretty high. The clip here floats a lot, meaning that there's a lot of slop in the draw. And then I will say immediately I notice how uncomfortable this is against my skin. I would have to wear something else. Yeah, it's okay. In my opinion, this is a decent holster. The leather will hold up. It'll get a little soft over time, but this is about $25 on Amazon for this one. All right, we're gonna talk about our first KTactical holster here. And the first thing I noticed immediately is how much smoother the leather is. The treatment on the leather is much more comfortable. And if you notice, this inside of the holster is completely flat. There is no stitching that's against your skin. There is a little bit of a paddle here, but a lot less material, so your body can move freely next to the firearm. Some might say that would cause more pounds per square inch, more focused pressure on your body, and it doesn't distribute the pressure as much as something like this, but we're gonna try it out and see what we think of the comfort. I'm really excited about how smooth and flat that is, how high up that goes. One of the very important elements of utilizing a holster is whether or not it covers the trigger guard. So we're gonna go ahead and, so yep, we have full coverage of the trigger guard there and no access to the trigger. That's very good. It's a very decent fit, good retention. Let me go ahead and try that guy on. Oh yeah, immediately I can tell that the abrasive, that there's a huge difference between this very abrasive edge against my skin and the smooth leather. It's very obvious. I do like how it fits low in the pocket, or so it's low on the belt, how it sits lower here, how it's more compact. Some people might not really love that feature. They might want it to sit higher, but I really like that. I find it to be a little bit more low profile. As I move and bend over, I think it's a lot harder to see, a lot less imprinting. Also the comfort, it feels good. Like I could wear that all day. Let's see, I'll give it a nice little draw. Beautiful. So I will say that the magazine does give a little bit of an extension here, which would give me a little bit more purchase on this particular firearm. We're gonna try this smaller firearm with a magazine in it for a more realistic test on the draw. This is the SIG P365. Okay, I'm gonna take this out. Make sure to flag you guys real quick. Oh yeah, that clip's nice. Ready to draw. Oh yeah, very smooth draw. Very quick and smooth draw. So reholstering this is pretty easy. You just have to kind of pull back the leather a little bit and come in from behind. Grab this nice tab here, this nice big tab, and just push it all the way down. If you put your thumb on the back of the slide so you don't have any problems with it going in. But honestly, reholstering is not really the priority, especially of a concealed carry holster like this. Reholstering, yeah, it's not the big deal. It's about getting it out and into the fight as fast as you can and wearing it consistently every day comfortably. If it's not comfortable, you're not going to wear it. So this is infinitely more comfortable than this guy. And I would definitely say a lot better quality than these two fabric Uncle Mike guys. In my opinion, it's sitting lower on the belt, makes it more concealable and more comfortable, easier to move around without imprinting, as opposed to this one that's the firearm sits very high on the belt because the clip is very low. This extra piece of leather is very uncomfortable, and the stitching is very abrasive against my skin. I really do like the supple, soft KTactical leather. That is a much, much better quality holster, and they're at similar price points. This one's actually $2 cheaper. But in all honesty, I am not the biggest fan of your leather holster systems. Now, all right, so now we're going to talk about a class of holsters that I'm a little bit more familiar with and definitely like better than your leather holsters. These leather holsters definitely are comfortable, and probably more comfortable than your Kydex style holster, but they do tend to get soft over time, making them a little less predictable and cumbersome and hard to deal with. But so Kydex holsters, you have much higher retention. They never change, they never soften. The way you got them out of the box is the way they're going to perform forever. So we're going to look at these three holsters here and some of the features of that. Now, I will say that this video is sponsored by KTactical. There's a bunch of great guys at KTactical. They're gun guys, and they take a lot of the features of other manufacturers. They've kind of decided what works and what doesn't work, and these are American gun guys who love what they do and definitely care a lot about the intricacies of the effectiveness of what they're doing. So here we have a Bronco Company holster, and it has some pretty nice features. The trigger well, you can't really get in there, but if you notice how large these clips are, they are adjustable, but
That's going in. That better go in.
All right, and so if you notice the size of these clips and how much extra material we have down here, and we can definitely change the ride height, which is a nice feature in this particular holster. But I will say, as a person who has worn this holster pretty consistently, it is not comfortable at all. I will say that there's something to do with this edge here and this edge here and how that digs into the body. Also, these kind of exposed screws here. The lip here doesn't cover all the way up the pistol, and so we have just a lot of little friction points on this that make this pretty uncomfortable. It has that sharp corner here instead of being rounded off, and that's my personal opinion, is that this is... I also want to mention how in the construction of this, that it's two pieces that they screw together, two separate pieces of Kydex that are screwed together, riveted and then screwed. Isn't that big of a deal, but at the end here, it's going to equal more material essentially. So this product is normally in the $50 range. So now I want to show you the KTactical Glock 40-30 holster and its particular features. So if you notice, there is a lot less detail here. You're not going to see a lot less ridges, bumps, cracks, so a lot less friction essentially against your body. So this is going to be against your body. You have this little screw here, which was engineered and designed to not agitate you, as opposed to that particular metal housing and those screws there. We have a much larger clip. It's a single clip, but it's very large, easier to deal with the single clip as opposed to the two clips. It has a tension screw there with a hex key. I am a big fan of the red interior. I think that's very stylish. I like the flat black color. I think it's amazing, but that's not really why I buy a holster. So I'm gonna go ahead and put that gun in there so you can see what that looks like. All right. I really like the way it is, this holster is exactly designed to meet up with the trigger guard here, where it's completely, the trigger guard is exposed on the bottom, but there's no access to the trigger in there. And when I purchase my hand on the firearm, I'm not competing with the holster in any way. Middle finger goes on the trigger guard as it is supposed to, and I'm never going to compete with the holster. I like how this the Kydex goes all the way up to the back of the gun here, which is going to leave less variation for friction there. I like how it is clamped in the front in a way that applies more structure and also protects the barrel from any debris. It's not completely covered, but I definitely like the way it's like that. I like the extra work they put in and cutting off these edges and rounding them off so they don't have nearly as much friction to the body. And so I'm gonna try that guy on, give it a go. Oh, that one? Yeah. But it sucks.
I know, they gotta see it.
First, I'm going to try on this Bravo Concealment Holster. I do want to apologize to Bravo Concealment. They did give me this for free for me to review it, but I never did because I didn't want to say bad things about them. Okay. See, all right, so I'm talking about putting this holster on, and I mentioned the two holster system being more difficult. So here we go. I'm taking, or two clip system. So I'm taking this and I am putting on the one clip, and now I have to wrestle with this clip and then go back to that clip, make sure both clips are clipped, and now we have it on. Some people might not feel like that's a big deal, but to me, it just makes it that much more difficult to put on in the morning. The retention is pretty decent, and I know that the draw stroke is pretty decent on this holster. So I definitely like the functionality of it, but I will say it's bulky, it's painful, and it's painful. Did I mention it hurts? It digs into me in a way that is very uncomfortable, and I don't know what else to say. It just doesn't work for me. So yeah, you can tell how many angles and kind of how. A piece of shit. I don't know how to articulately say it. It's a piece of shit. So for $50. So this is $29 on the KTactical website and also Amazon. No, not on Amazon. eBay. This is $29 on eBay. Also the KTactical website. You want to go directly to them. It's very simple, very streamlined, very effective, very durable, and very consistent. So there's the gun in the holster, super small and compact, not bulky at all. Get that guy in there, and if you notice, the clip is already doing its job. I didn't have to lift it up, didn't have to do anything, it already went into place. I'm gonna go ahead and clip it over my belt, make sure my belt fits in there. Okay, so now it's a back hooked clip, so it's in there in the belt. And the first thing I notice is its profile, it's just much thinner, and it just hugs to the body really nice. Immediately, I am relieved that I don't have these grindy little sharp edges digging into my body. I don't know what to say about that. Okay, let's check the draw stroke. You guys ready? This is the first time I've ever drawn this holster. Let's see what happens. All right, that seemed pretty effective. I had a little flex with my belt. It definitely has very good retention. But all these smooth edges and curves made it pretty easy to get make it a good purchase on the firearm. And also, I really love that feature of that trigger guard at the bottom where I don't have to compete with the holster at all. It's not covered at all. I really like that. Immediately. Also, reholsters amazingly as well. It just works. There's nothing complicated about it. That is a perfect holster. No bells, no whistles, no things, a lot less screws to unscrew, things to adjust, things to get messed up or loosened up. I've had holsters fall apart on me before. Obviously these are a little bit more simple in their construction because there's no screws, but this is just a much more effective holster here. There's a particular company out there, illegal alien gear. I mean, you know, their heart's in the right place. They're trying to give you options, but it's $100 for that kit, and it just essentially it's just a game of Legos where you got to put together your own holster, and I don't know why people would pay money to spend hours adjusting their holster with all the different features when they could just buy something that works and save their time. Yeah, for the same price of that alien gear holster, you could buy 3 of these for different guns. I don't know what else there is to say. Yeah, I'd absolutely buy it. Yeah, it's a very good holster. So this is my first experience with these holsters, and I'm going to purchase one right now. They don't actually belong to me, but this one will belong to me now. There's 25. There you go. Here's 30 bucks. Keep the change. All right, so this is now my holster, and I'm really happy with it. I'm really excited about using this in the future. It has every feature I could possibly want. A lot of room to purchase on that firearm. It protects the trigger very well. It has a tensioning screw so I can change the tension on it as I want. It covers all the way to the top there. Smooth, just enough friction that it draws very well and doesn't come out. It has a highly functional, really heavy duty clip here that essentially with this little back cut here, it puts itself on the belt. It goes in and out of my belt really fast. I'm really excited about using this firearm in the future. No, I'm not excited about using the firearm. That would be a bad day. I'm excited about carrying with this particular holster with no intentions of using my firearm in an unlawful manner. So in conclusion, I want you to know that you should never buy this crap. Also, this leather holster, be very skeptical of this extra piece of leather here that makes it look like it's heavy duty, but in all honesty, it just makes it less comfortable. If you're going to get a leather holster, I recommend having as much leather against your skin as you can, and very little screws or nuts or thread. Now there's a little bit of thread here, but it's actually the way that they do it, it's completely clean. There's no sharp edges. They sew it and they finish the stitch in the corner here where it's not going to be against you. They reinforce the clip design. It's decently good if you're going to go with a leather holster. If you're a real man, go with a Kydex holster, and they're difficult to find one that's comfortable, to be honest. That's probably their worst feature, is they're not quite as comfortable as these nice soft leather holsters, but they're going to retain your firearm better, they're going to be safer, they're going to be functional for a lot longer, especially if you get a simple design that's just going to stay exactly the way it is for 20 years. In my opinion, it's an amazing holster. These KTacticals with the signature red interior, and good luck to their competitors.